Hi, this is Melaine Sebastian with my Microsoft Excel tutorial videos. Today we are going to pick up where we left off from last time, which is on Annie's Awesome Lemonade Stand, the spreadsheet of hours worked by employees at this lemonade stand, and we had made some edits like adding some nice borders to this table, as well as changing some formatting of some numbers, and as well as this title bar at the top. So today we're going to pick up with the styles section and move on to the second half of the home tab. So let's make sure we're starting from the same place. The final product sheet is what we want this to look like when we're done. But incomplete sheet is what we're going to be working with. So let's start off with some conditional formatting. If you look at your final product, you'll notice that some of the numbers of cups sold right here, they have this weird green color, and that is for a reason. It's not just random. So the guideline for what I care about in terms of number of cups sold. Maybe I'm Annie, and I want to see who sold more than 250 cups because they're going to get something special. And we can do something to where the people who sold 250 or more, those numbers pop out at us. So let's do this. Go to your incomplete sheet, highlight these numbers, and we're going to do something called conditional formatting. So click on the conditional formatting button, and the first option is going to show us some rules. So we can cause changes in the formatting of these cells according to certain rules. So let's do greater than, and we have a couple of options here. We can say, we can type in our own number. So I could say, all right, 250. Whoever's greater than 250, we want to show up with this red color. Or we can change this. We could make it just a red border or green. There's a few options here, and we can even do a custom. So let's go with the red border for the moment. I'm going to click OK. And you can see it. It's very, very pale. So maybe I don't like that because it's not really popping out to me enough. So let me highlight these cells again and go back to conditional formatting. So now I go back to greater than, type 250, and let's do the red text. And now the text is red as well. But notice that the red borders did not go away. And that's because I didn't clear out that old rule. These different conditional formatting rules are not mutually exclusive, meaning if you put one type of conditional formatting, you're not limited to that. The other ones just stack on top. So if you are looking at this cell, maybe you're in cell B9, and you want to say, well, what type of special rules do I have on there? I can check that by going to conditional formatting and going down to my rules section and manage rules. And I can see that I have not just that one rule, but the two of them. Remember the first time, the one right here, this one says if the cell is greater than 250, add a red border. And then this one right here, if the cell is greater than 250, then turn the text red. And maybe I wanted to get rid of some of those, so I would have to, there's a few things I could do. I could delete the rules right here. I could say, all right, I didn't want the red border because I didn't like it. Delete. But I can leave this one, or I can delete this one. And I can even add new rules straight from right here. Let me show that one more time. The new rules straight from here brings up this new dialog box, and this is really specific, and this is kind of more advanced than we need to get into. But you should know you can do this. You can go in and you can make your own custom set of rules that allow you to be really, really picky. But we're not going to do that. Let's just go back and look at the pre-made ones. Now look, all of our rules on this cell are gone. No, there's another way to do it. You could have if you want to highlight all the cells and get rid of all the rules on them, highlight them first, of course, and then this allows you to clear all of the conditional formatting. So let's clear them all from these cells or from the entire sheet. And there we go, that it's gone. You see no more of that red border, no more red words. Now, there's other types of conditional formatting. There's other rules. You could say only people who sold between, and you know, type whatever you'd like here, maybe between 150 and 250. Okay. All right. So there is that particular formatting right there. Those are the special people who are in between. And I can go back and clear it. Clear. Okay. You can do other things as well. You can say if it contains a certain text, if they are duplicates, and under more rules, this is where you can go and be really picky and do things like greater than or equal to, and that's really picky things that you can do there. Now, notice one more thing. If instead of typing a number here, remember we typed 250, you could actually go in and select a cell value. So you can click this, and I can say, well, I want whoever's greater than this number right here. And you see the little marching ants, meaning that this cell is now linked to this action, this conditional formatting. And now I hit enter. Okay, and now the format that's chosen is the red fill, dark red text. Okay, and what do you see happen? Whoever is greater than this 251 appears with that special formatting. But watch this. What if I change this number? So it's 251 now, but what if that was a mistake, and instead I wanted to put 150 instead? Let's see what happens. So type 150. The second you hit enter, what happened? We gained 3 more people with that special formatting. And why is that? Well, because the rule was whichever cells were greater than this cell get the special format. And once this became lower, then these fit the rule, so they get the special formatting. And what if we lower it again? Let's do a 0 just to see what happens. And they're all greater than 0, so they all get that special formatting. Now, we can leave that, but I think I would prefer to clear all this. Okay, so clear either one will do the trick. There we go. We are back in business. Okay. Now, you have some other options here. Let's look at this real quick. Top and bottom rules. You can also highlight some numbers. Let me put back that 251. Okay, so we can highlight, and we can say whoever is in the top 10% of sellers, or whoever is above average. We have all these choices here. So let's look at below average. So below average, whoever's below average, they're going to get the green. I'm going to go with green this time. And remember, you can always do custom from here. You can make your own special format. I'm not going to do that. Just know that exists. You go in here and you mess around with borders, fills, whatever you need to do. But this works for right now. Click OK. And what do you see? Whoever's below the average, they just turned a nice green. Cool. Now let's go back to conditional formatting. And the next is data bars, color scales, icons, sets. So let's look at those. And this time I'm going to look at just switch numbers just to keep it kind of fresh. Let's look at this total column. So column J, and we have the totals here of who worked how many hours. So this time let's do data bars, and you have either gradient or solid, and you can see what it's doing is it's creating a little bitty graph within your cells. So each cell has its own data bar within it. Okay, and to get rid of this, you also have to clear it. You can't just write over another of these rules. So you can actually have the data bars and conditional formatting going on at once. And it's a bit difficult to see, but they can overlap with each other. So to get rid of them, you would have to go in and clear it all. Let's look at another set. Color scales. Color scales create a gradient showing, in this case, it's the most yellow is the highest, and then it goes to green. Whoever's the greenest is the lowest. So almost like a banana ripe to unripe scale, I suppose you could say. And you can change to other patriotic colors or Jamaican type. And notice that these do, if you switch just from one color scale to the other, it does overwrite. Now, icon sets, these are similar to color scales. It shows who's good, bad, and in the middle. So you can have check marks for the highest, X for the lowest, and that you can have that on top of the color scale or on top of the data bars. And so that's a little festive way to add to your Excel spreadsheets. Let's clear that out because that's almost a bit of an eyesore. Okay, next let's move on to format as table. Now you notice we've already put a lot of work in to make this table look really nice. Or for those of you watching, I guess I put in a lot of work to make it looks pretty nice. But let's say we did something, let's just copy this whole table. So Control C, or I could have gone with well, here's cut, and then my copy's right here. Let's do this. I'm just going to scroll down my page, and I'm going to paste, but I'm going to do a special paste by right-clicking and going in here, or going to my special paste options drop down, and I am going to just, here we go. So if you right-clicked, you could have done this right here, just values, or just formulas would have given you the better choice. And what does that mean? Well, I copied all my data, but none of the formats came along with it. And that's fine. That's exactly what I wanted. So it's the stripped down version of what was in the highlighted region. Now, let's do this. So pretend I started off with this very bland, boring looking data, and now I want to turn it into a table. And this will be a lot quicker than when I made this. I had to sit here and change the color of this and change the color of this, and it was not very fun. But now, let's use this format as table button, and we can pick from a variety of pre-made styles that look really nice. I'm going to go with this nice purple, and it's going to try to estimate where your table is. You can always make little tweaks to it, and then you can tell it, do you have headers or do you not have headers? And we do, because these things are not part of the data. Oh, and look, I'm messing up my region. So just make sure the marching ants go around the area you want. Okay, and click OK. Now, if for some reason you're following along, it wasn't working, your cursor might not have been in the data when you started. So try it again with your cursor in there. And now we get this nice automatic table, and there's even these cool little drop downs that we're going to explore to see what they do. And notice whenever your cursor's in this table, you have a new tab pop up, and that's the Design tab for tables. But let's look at some of the things that we notice about the table and that we can change about it. It does have a name, and we could change that. So that could be weekly hours, just to be a little more descriptive. And I forgot that it cannot have a space in it. So let me just put weekly, and an underscore will do hours. There we go. To resize the table, you can change where it's actually located, and let's see if that works. You have to pick the same size, so you just have to be very careful with that. And I'm not going to bother to count all the rows right now, but just know that that exists. We do not need to worry about tools right now. That's a little too specific. Let's just jump over to table style options. Now, in here you can do cool things like add something called a total row, and in the total row it will pop up and you can have these cool little drop downs, which will, it's really asking you, what do you want to do with this particular spot? Do you want to take the average of these numbers? Do you want to take the sum of them? So let's take the sum, and it's going to take the sum of all these numbers above it, and that'll save us a lot of work. And I could go through for each one if I wanted and put the sum, or maybe I want the average, something like that. But if I don't want this row, I can always just go remove it. Okay. And next thing, click on our table. Okay. Next thing we can do, we can add a first column, and all that means it's not going to add a new column. It's just going to put something special to set this apart. Okay, and you can do that on or off. You can do something special with the last column, and it'll show up in your previews right here. Maybe if we had a different style like this one or this one, it would show up more, but it's not gonna in this particular style. Banded columns is where it colors every other column. That's a little much. And then we have it on banded rows, but you can turn that off. And then the header row, do we want to show it? Do we not want to show it? So that's the titles, for example, the days of the week. All right, if we don't like this purple, can we change it? Absolutely. Just go pick the one that tickles your fancy right here. I like these. They look pretty crisp. And then you can always go back and tweak things within once you change that style. And you can even define a new table style. So go to the drop-down, new table style. And you can even clear all styles, but it remains as a table, so you still have access to these little drop downs, which we're going to look into next. Let me put it back on a nice style. There we go. Okay, now our table, besides looking pretty, has a very useful function to it, and that is these drop downs allow us to do two things. We can sort and we can filter. And you might remember these from Microsoft Word, but let's review. For each column, I can go in and I can sort the employees A to Z. Now look at Hannah's information. I want you to remember this. Hannah has she sold 251 cups, and she worked 4 hours on Monday, 14 hours total. If I sort this data A to Z, do you think it's just going to change this row, or is it going to change all the data that goes with it? So remember, Hannah, 251, 14. So let's give it a try. A to Z. Look at Hannah. She still has the correct data. So it's not going to just change this row. It's going to change every row. It's going to drag all Hannah's data and take it with her. Now, we're in alphabetical order, just like we wanted. And what you can do is, you're not limited to just going off of the employees. You could say, all right, sort by the total, smallest to largest. You could sort by any given day, by this. It's very useful. And the next thing we can do, if we don't want to just sort, is we can actually filter out. So we can actually come in here and say, well, looks like Renee didn't even show up. So how about Renee? Let's go in here and get rid of Renee. Or and maybe we just don't like Bob or whatever reason, Bob doesn't need to show up on this list, so we can get rid of Bob. So this is sorting. We can get rid of certain things, certain people individually. We can actually, if we have numbers, like we could do, let's go by totals, filters. And we could say, all right, let's filter out things that are between. So we want maybe things, let's look at our data. Maybe between 8, so 8 and 12, or 8, you know what, let's make it 8 and 13. Oop. Uh-oh. And I think I sorted it a little too specifically between, let's look at that, between. Okay. Ah, yeah, that's a problem. I wanted something that was greater than or equal to 13 and less than or equal to 8. That's not even possible. I think I meant or. There we go. So notice we got rid of those few people who were between 8 and 13, and it did include Lauren, who was right on the fence because she was equal to. So that's a filter. I'm actually getting rid of some rows. And notice how these rows in the table, they turned blue. And you jump here from 34 to 37. So Excel remembers that these people existed. It didn't just delete them for all eternity. They're still there, and you can bring them back by going back to number filters, and you can click this, or you could just clear your filter, and there comes Christina and Lucas back into the table. So that is really the gist of tables. I could also, for this data, I could have made this one a table as well, but I didn't want to mess with my pretty formatting. Now, let's finish off this cell styles right here, and then we'll have wrapped up the styles section. So let's pick a good cell. This little 2 right here will work. I'm in cell H11. You can see the orange markers, remember? And H11 has pretty boring format-wise, right? It's a boring font, regular old size 11, nothing exciting going on formatting-wise. But these cell styles allow us to apply certain preset formats to any given cell. So this 2, or any other cell we choose, could quickly become this very exciting looking cell right here. And notice what was included in that style that I had made. You might not have this style. Some of these are custom, but it's green. It has a new font. It has a size. It's italic. These formatting alignments, the left and top, came along with it, as well as the size of the cell. That's a lot of things. Wrap text is also included in that. So that's what a cell style is. It's just an automatic set of formats. So every time I wanted a cell to look like this, I don't have to go, maybe I want to change this one, and I don't want to have to make it italic and make it, whatever the situation is, make it 18, and that's just a lot of work, when instead I could just say zip. That's it. Now this looks really, really awful in in this table, so let me grab my Format Painter, and this is a great time to review Format Painter. So Format Painter takes the format of a certain cell, so that's all this stuff, whether it's underline, if it's wrap text, if it's oriented a certain way with the direction of the text. It takes all that and it applies it from one cell. See our little marching ants here, so that's the one we've grabbed, and it's going to apply it to that other cell. And for this one, I'm gonna grab from this one right here. Grab him. There we go. All right, so we're back to normal. And besides all these styles that are available to you right here, you can also make your own. So let's show how to do that. Maybe I clicked within my hyperlink. Yeah. I didn't see it there. I think it wasn't there. Let's just go to a blank cell here. I'm just going to go out into the boondocks out here where there's no other stuff. All right, so I have a cell. I'm going to, maybe I want to adjust the size of it, make it a little bigger, a lot bigger. Give it a big font. Give it a crazy font right here, Broadway, okay, and then, just, you can go crazy with it. I'm not going to spend too much more time. Bold, and let's center and center, and then type whatever you want. I'm going to call it, I'm just going to say lemonade. Okay. And you can't even see it, but we'll make it even bigger. Okay, so there it is, and you go to cell styles, and you can say, hey, I want to make this a new cell style, and you can call it, this one's rather extreme, so I'm going to call it extreme, and it's red, so sure, let's just call it that. And do we want to include the number part of the format? Sure, I mean, it's just general. Alignment, yes, we want to include that alignment because that's part of this style. That's part of what I liked about it. All these things you can say, well, maybe I like that, but the font, I'm not too fond of the font, or I don't want to save the font as part of it. So I'm going to turn that off. Also, you can do some edits to it right here. You can make a last-minute change and say, well, I actually also want a border on it. And okay, so let's do that. Or you could even add a special border like that. Okay, and now that's part of this. Once you are satisfied with what you've got, I'm going to click OK. Let's see if it came up. There it is. So I can go to any other cell in this document. I'm just going to click on this one here, this 3, and look at that. Notice what it did and did not transfer. It did keep the background color. It gave it that outline I wanted. It didn't give it the size. And it also did not give it the font. And the reason it didn't give it the font, normally it does, but what did I do? I toggled that button so it was off. And so it didn't remember, or it did not hold on to the fact that the font was white, that it was size 36, Broadway, bold, all that stuff, not part of that cell style. But if I wanted to save this, I could always click, go back and make another one that did include it and call it something different. And with that wraps up the styles section of the Home tab. That was a lot of information, so I'm going to cut this off. Join me on my next video, Home tab part 3, where we will continue on the Home tab and check out the other videos after that. Thanks for watching.